Welcome back to Executive IT, where we unpack how technology leaders run and secure scalable companies. I'm your host, Evan Kiely. Today, we're talking with Alan Taylor, COO of Maxio, the modern B2B SaaS billing and financial operations platform. Alan, great to have you here. Thank you for taking the time. Would you mind giving us a quick 30-second overview?
Yeah, sure. I'll beat you in Newton 20. So I've had my entire career in vertical SaaS and private equity backed businesses. As COO of Maxio, as most COOs do, I oversee a ton of different functions: internal ops, customer ops, pre-sales, strategy, and within that is IT. So happy to chat with you about my views on IT today.
Awesome. Love it. Let's just jump right in then. So, as COO, you said you oversee many teams across many different functions. You're responsible for keeping the wheels moving, right? From your seat, COO, how do you frame the role of IT and security in delivering Maxio's reliability and customer commitments?
Necessary, just flat out necessary. I look at every investment that I make within my business from a standpoint of ROI, of what is the incremental revenue and EBITDA I'm going to get out of this individual hire. When I think about compliance, though, and IT, it's just a must have type of investment that we need to make. So here at Maxio, we have a senior IT leader with a ton of background in compliance. We have a compliance analyst underneath that organization as well. And because we are meeting SOC 2, ISO 27001, PCI, all different kinds of compliance certification, even as a business that is not a massive public business, we have quite a bit of needs for security and compliance for our customers. So I view it as a necessity, not as a investment that you decide to or to not make.
Awesome. No, it makes total sense. What's what's your operating rhythm with your IT and security teams look like? When you're thinking of success, what does success look like to you?
Yeah, sure. So it's no different from any other department in my day to day. So my regular weekly stand ups with the team, monthly updates on initiatives, quarterly readouts. But with IT and security, it's a little bit different since we do plan our annual calendar around the audit timeline. So as we roll into Q3, Q4, Q1, we're spending a lot of time getting through both prep and execution of audits, and much of the cadence between IT and the leadership team is around our audit readiness, right? And audit preps and audit findings. We take that very seriously. We take change control very seriously. And as part of that, we have a regular compliance committee that meets on a quarterly basis to ensure that myself, our CFO, our CPO are all aligned with the existing policies, procedures, and any upcoming changes or needs for changes. So my cadence really is, number one, just one-to-one with my team as it would be with any other team. Number two, focused on audit prep. And then number three is ensuring that we get the rest of the ELT involved as being part of a compliance committee that they speak to on a quarterly basis.
Awesome. So, real example, you COO at Maxio. Let's say a product or finance organization is introducing a new billing system like Maxio. What's the joint playbook across ops, IT, security, product? What does that look like from your perspective?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And there's a lot of cross functional work in there. I would even throw marketing in there as well, because it all starts with your privacy policies on your website, your list of sub processors, getting IT's feedback in our existing customer contracts. So, in that full go to market motion, IT plays a huge role at just about every single step of the way. In fact, I just got off a call with my RevOps team and my marketing team where I was talking about email compliance. And I said, you know what? I think my compliance team should be involved in this, if not owning it, not marketing or RevOps. So there's quite a bit that they're getting plugged into. One thing that we see quite a bit from customers and new prospects alike is a need to see our most recent audits and certifications, right? Any company is going to have that. we've actually established, working through some contract automation tools, some GRC tools, the ability for customers and prospects to request a copy of those reports directly through us, and created some automation so that they make a request, system looks up, is it a customer? Great, send it off. Is it not a customer? Make approval, get an NDA signed, then send it off. So that was a really cool kind of IT, marketing, sales, RevOps coordination. And quite frankly, it's been a differentiator for us. We operate in a market where there are a couple of other large players, but there's a lot of very small bootstrap and VC-backed players in there, and they don't have this kind of compliance infrastructure. And when we deal with customers that are more in that mid-market and higher range, they say, wow, you guys really have your stuff together. That is much easier to trust than this startup that is willing to slash their price. So it's a good team effort, but it's also a very it just creates a good first impression with the company's internal operations.
I'm hearing a theme in here from an operator, a non-IT operator in a business. I'm hearing this advice of being proactive, bringing your IT and your security teams to the forefront of decision making or processes. You went through and listed, a lot of processes that IT and security can help influence, and I'm hearing compliance, right? Compliance to me sounds like risk. Nobody wants to introduce more risk into their business, and so, would you say it's a best practice to proactively engage your IT and security teams from a RevOps perspective, a finance, a marketing, right? They have a lot more to give a business to keep a business on track in terms of compliance and risk than having them be an afterthought.
Yeah, absolutely. In my mind, with virtually any strategic decision that is changing the way that we go to market or changing the types of products that we deliver, IT and compliance is always in there upfront to ensure that we're not doing anything that we might step in later. So, especially as every company in the world is experimenting heavily with AI, right? Ensuring that our CISO is on top of that to make sure that our privacy policy actually reflects what OpenAI and other companies are doing. So every time that we have a new initiative launched, one of my first questions is this within compliance? Are we going to get in trouble? And what do we need to watch out for? And whether that's a go-to-market motion change, whether that's a product offering change, partnerships, right? M&A. I get IT involved in that as well because they are a core part of tech diligence to ensure that the products that we will be representing are going to fit into our policies.
M&A, perfect segue. I know you've been on your fair share of M&A and corporate integrations, right? What are some of the biggest pitfalls, or I guess areas to look for in terms of integrating two companies from an IT and a security risk standpoint?
How many hours you got? Just kidding. I mean, IT and security is an area that, especially as an acquisitive company, you cannot overinvest, right? It's an area where you are never going to say, dang it, I wish I hadn't got such a senior, security guy, or dang it, I shouldn't have spent money on this PCI compliance audit. You're always going to thank yourself for it. And as I think about IT's role in M&A integration, it's really diligence through integration. When I think of IT and M&A, I probably over-index on how important it is for IT to be involved in the integration planning process, because that day one experience for your new employees is so important on setting the tone one way or the other. And the only way you get that done well is with HR, IT, and leadership being very, very, very closely connected so that everybody knows, when are you going to get your email access? When are you going to get your employment agreement? When do I need to go through security training? Do I need to change any tooling or hardware that I have? So I would say it's a challenge in the prep, but very rewarding in the execution when it comes to that kind of, call it, tactical desktop IT side of things. From a security standpoint, that is one where my advice, I've been a direct M&A professional before. And what I would say is, for all of you looking to do M&A, always make sure that you're building in some non-operational budget for building your newly acquired both application and information security processes into your NFRs, because it's never going to happen. You're going to probably fight with your sponsors on if it's a small deal, do we really need to spend money on a security audit and the tech debt remediation? But you do. You definitely do, because as I kind of mentioned before with ROI and security investments, it can be hard to measure because from my standpoint, it's a must-have. It's a must-have because the downside can be so massive, and it's kind of hard to model out a 1% chance of a $10 million liability hit. But
Yeah.
if you even start to sniff that, you will not be happy, and your sponsors definitely will not be happy.
Again, it's that proactivity theme, right? ROI might be, from a finance perspective, might be hard to model from avoidance, right? What's the return on this investment? Well, it might be that we avoided a catastrophe in terms of an IT or a security incident, right? And
Yeah,
that is just
totally.
so
And
critical for the
yeah,
longevity and success of that M&A project.
yeah, and every IT team obviously needs to have a really, really solid response plan for when there is an incident. But the goal should be to have a really solid plan and never have to use it. So that's why we want to be super proactive upfront in any investment to ensure that it's not an afterthought.
Proactivity. I love it. Great theme. Let's wrap it up here. I got a couple more minutes. Let's do some advice, right? Not that you haven't
Yeah.
given us enough already, but for the listeners at home, what is one initiative from your perspective that an IT or security professional can implement or champion internally at their organization in the next 30 days?
Yeah, sure. I think some kind of governance committee, compliance committee, review board to ensure that you have that cross-functional alignment across leadership, IT, development, legal, just to ensure that everybody's both aware of your processes and policies and procedures, but aligned with any changes and gaps that need to be filled. That is it's an investment that you need to make, but it's a once every 90-day meeting, and you are going to have such clear prioritization of the gaps that you need to fill in order to protect your business that it's something, again, you'll be thanking yourself later for setting up a fairly low touch process. But the other thing that I would say that I would advise all IT and security professionals, and not even IT and security professionals, but any business professional, is don't look at any process as a quote unquote IT process or a quote unquote security process, because IT can be a strategic differentiator for you in both your employee experience and your customer experience. And that example that I gave you of our, whole automated process for requesting an NDA and receiving our compliance reports, right? That wasn't an IT problem we were solving. That was a sales and customer success problem we were solving. And we have had direct feedback from customers and prospects saying that was pretty slick and a heck of a lot easier than XYZ competitor. So, we do see real ROI from that. You do have an opportunity to be a part of the broader business. I think the most important thing is, like I said, think about where does IT fit into existing business practices, not how can I make this IT practice a business practice.
That's great. I hope our IT and security listeners and our non-IT and security listeners are taking this theme about proactivity and how IT and security can actually be a business driver, not an afterthought. Right? I love that. That's great. Any final closing thoughts that you have?
Uh, no, I mean, just like you hit it. It's being proactive, because a dollar today is a lot cheaper than $10 tomorrow, right?
That is true. That is true. Well, Alan, thank you so much for the insights, spending the time with us. You're welcome anytime. You're welcome back anytime. But with that, we'll call it a wrap on this week and invite you to join us next month for another installment of Executive IT.